What a great honor to be able to introduce for the first time ever anywhere the 45th President of the United States of America.
I couldn't help it. The screaming woman had to come out. Welcome to Free for All Friday. What a week. It is. Look at this. Look at how thin my hair is. Actually, no, it's very thick and fluffy. It feels thinner, though. It feels like I've been pulling my hair out all week long. But it's Friday. We made it. SHTF? No doubts, folks. No doubts. Now, special Free for All Friday. Well, I've got my shot glass with a bullet in it there. And I tell you what, at some point there, I'm going to give it a little bit of the captain. I've been in kind of a rummy mood. So, wow. I don't know if anyone can even buy that on this show, but I'll buy it for $1. What are we going to talk about? Are we going to talk about the high-tech car that drove off a 3-story building and crashed? Are we going to talk about Paul Pelosi and what's going on there? We're going to talk a little bit about, how the mainstream media has abandoned strong women. Or maybe we should talk about Ukraine and Russia. We all know what the topic du jour is, folks. The topic du jour is Roe v. Wade. That's right. The Supreme Court, SCOTUS to some of us, has finally decided it's going to drop the hammer, and it says no more federal protection in the case of abortions. It's now up to the states. So basically, we already knew the lid was coming off this. We already knew they were going to pour the can of worms out. We knew it. I'm not surprised. You're not surprised. The leftists, the wackos, the socialists, the extremists, where have the Satanists been? They were really out there making everyone look stupid on their side. It's like, yeah. When the Satanists, when the outright satanic worshipers of Satan, when they come out and they're on your side, you know you're not on the right side of things. You know it. Unbelievable, folks. Well, get your questions, your comments, your perspectives, your thoughts. And it doesn't just have to be on Roe v. Wade. There's a lot more going on besides Roe v. Wade. So get your questions and comments. In fact, it is Free for All Friday. Let's get crazy. Throughout this program, Jolene, you are hereby politely commanded. You know how I command things. Commanded to, we're going to go and put your comments, your questions, pepper them throughout the program. Otherwise, I could be here all day long. And we're starting right off the bat with Kathy Lemaster. It is likely that the effects of the Dobbs decision will impact group health care insurance for years to come. Review and watch for. People stirred up. I work for a company out of California. The Dobbs decision, what does that have to do with Roe v. Wade? What planet are you from? Right? Isn't Roe v. Wade all we're supposed to care about? The right and ability, right, to make bad decisions. And I want to put this out right at the top of the show. Getting pregnant takes two. Being responsible takes two. If both are responsible for bad decisions, then bad on them, right? But here's the deal, right? Roe v. Wade is not overturned. The federal government's role in it is, however, the states, and we'll be talking about the states, have states' rights. And I have a lot of comments on this. By the way, Congress, both the House and the Senate, have now passed gun control. Gun control. So that is there as well. So we've got a lot to talk about. Right. Men are responsible, women are responsible, but never, ever, ever in history has there been better contraception. Never in history has there been better contraception and choices, from the IUDs to the sperm trampoline called whatever the hell that thing was called, diaphragm, to the pill, to prophylactics for whatever size wiener you've got, all that stuff. Not to mention a do-it-yourself, discreetly pee at home, see if you're pregnant stick, so you know if you made a mistake or not. Because I'm not a moralist here, folks, but I am a responsibilitist, right? I do not want morality coming from the states or the feds. I don't want that shit. Who the hell wants them telling us what to do, think, believe, and how to act, including, the Second Amendment, right? So let's get into this. Be responsible. If you're not, you better take care of it pronto. Don't wait till you're 2, 3, 4, 5 months pregnant. Dumbasses. All right. And there's lots of choices. I'm sure, folks, if we can get horse paste medication via the internet, I'm sure there's going to be a way to get the oops, I made a mistake pill over the internet. If it's not already available, I'm sure people will be capitalizing on that. And I bet the left-wing lunatics will not like that someone's getting rich off of that, right? Anytime someone makes a little money, they're like, you're getting rich on everyone else. You filthy capitalists. Someone will figure it out. Now, a referendum. I think this is a referendum, folks. But I don't think it's a referendum about abortion. It's not about abortion as much to me as the concept of states' rights, state self-determination, and a restriction on U.S. District of Columbia commandments and assumed power by the District of Columbia. Abortion? How about guns and Second Amendment self-defense issues and U.S. government, Washington, D.C. commandments? Folks, the federal government doesn't have a say, as far as I'm concerned, with regard to the Second Amendment. There's a little phrase in there. It's called shall not be infringed. So simple. Shall not be infringed. Federal government, see the latest Roe v. Wade decision. This is about states' rights. Okay. Now, the protection that the federal government would oversee on the states would be if the states try and violate someone's rights and they come in and go, state. The Second Amendment says shall not be infringed. Now, how about the right to travel, own property? Does this decision look at that? Ultimately, right, states' rights, the right to secede if it suits a state's interests more than an abusive marriage to a swamp troll named Washington, D.C. Pandora's box, right? You think this was about peeling the lid off of Roe v. Wade? Roe v. Wade, compared to states' rights and Constitution and our rights, is like comparing this shot glass to this bottle. It is tiny compared to it. Yet there's a lot of people drunk with madness not bad. People are drunk with madness over this Roe v. Wade decision. Let's get into it. I'm going to give you guys first crack at making some smart aleck comments here on the Prepared Mind Free for All Friday. Jolene, who has a comment? We got great turnout here, and we're doing things, we're modifying things on Subscribe Star. So if you're a Subscribe Star member, you're here live right now. And we're trying to make things smoother. We're kind of tuning and dialing knobs and figuring shit out, but it's working great. This is our free speech platform, folks. Now, it's Fourth Dimension. That means it's Kaz from the Fourth Dimension channel. He is also a wrench-wielding moderator and one hell of a good man. He says, this is going to be an epic weekend of violence. Be safe, y'all. Oh, yeah. I want to thank Mr. T for making some great promos, intros, outros, convertos, and everything else. Tim, I got the latest glitchy smiley face. I've just been, as you may imagine, incredibly busy, pounding nails, picking up heavy objects, as well as going, what the heck just happened? Woo! Okay. Epic violence, right? Oh, by the way, on Subscribe Store, yeah. Supreme Court overturns Roe v. Wade. Just in case anyone missed it. Eliminates the constitutional right. You know, no, it's not a U.S. constitutional right. It cracks me up. Oh, and by the way, thank you, Kaz. It cracks me up. They can read, the leftists, into the Constitution where it does not exist, the right to choose to kill a fetus. Wow, that rum is hitting the spot. The right to choose to kill a fetus. They can see that, but for some reason they can't read the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. They can't see that. Unbelievable. Now, a left-wing radical group, folks, has announced massive protest outside of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas's home tonight. They've doxed him. They've printed it. They're promoting it. They're sharing it with one another. Let's go to Justice Clarence Thomas's home. I wonder, folks, if Justice Clarence Thomas has security. I wonder if Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, oh, after all, by the way, you know, for everyone who missed it, Justice Clarence Thomas is mega conservative and he's black. Can you believe that? Well, remember when they said some idiot weeks ago talking about guns? Oh, you wait till blacks have guns. Oh, that was that stupid Joy Behar. You wait till black people have guns and we'll see what happens. It's like, did you miss that day in school when they said everyone has the same rights? It's called equality. I wonder if Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas took Joe Biden's advice and got a shotgun. Get a shotgun there, Justice Thomas. And if anyone threatens your house and your wife and your family, you go out there with a shotgun and fire off, blast off a couple of rounds. I wonder, folks, does he have security? Does he have a shotgun? Does Justice Thomas know that he also has Second Amendment rights? Oh, man. These lefties, folks, as far as I'm concerned, are terrorists. They're terrorists, in my opinion. Once this decision was finally handed down, and interestingly, they did it on a Friday. Is that because the Supreme Court are a bunch of pussies? Is it that they wanted everyone to have all the time in the world to gather and cause trouble over the weekend? Right? Busloads of riot police head to the Supreme Court for the weekend. Snipers on the rooftop. As leftists, folks, threatened to burn, right? In mostly peaceful protesting. Remember that threat to burn it all down, right? Commit acts of violence against people, companies, government, businesses, right? Now, except for the most radical of radicals, folks, is this issue worth violence, chaos, killing police, killing judges, killing everyday citizens, right? And does this violence that the left is threatening to commit, wants to commit, does it make anyone reconsider or change their mind on the core issue here? The core issue isn't abortion. The core issue is, does the federal government have the right to force everyone else to believe as they do? Or do states have their rights? Now, the right to free choice, is that a federal right? Or is it a state right? Well, if it's not specifically in the U.S. Constitution, it falls under the 10th Amendment. All rights not specifically delegated to the United States government through the U.S. Constitution are reserved to the states themselves. Right? States' rights. There's nothing in the Constitution about abortion, so over to the states. Now, does this violence make anyone reconsider that notion? Or is it what the threats and these actions being taken really are? And let's be honest with one another and ourselves. And let's be honest with these frickin' idiots. It's terrorism. Now, here is a definition that I have for terrorism, because I've read many definitions and I've been studying terrorism, well, since 1981-82. When I first learned it, it became part of government and social studies in my education. That's right, I was like 11, 12, folks. Terrorism, what is it? I was like, okay, I know what a terrorist is. I've seen them on TV. They cover their face, just like Antifa and BLM and other leftist lunatics. They hide their face and their identity. And then they make threats and use violence to kill people to get their way. So terrorism, the use of violence or threats of violence to exact a political decision in support of an individual or that group's favor. They use violence to cause political decisions to be made on their behalf, in other words. But is anyone going to reconsider or change their mind on the core issue here? The core issue is not abortion. The core issue is states' rights and limitations on the federal government. Once again, the federal government, does it have a right to tell us what to do at every turn? No. There is nothing in the Constitution that says the federal government may tell the people what to do at every case and every turn. They have very limited, very specific. So this is a big deal, folks, on many levels, but it's being felt in the world of abortion first, because that is the case that is being looked at. Oh, by the way, California, Oregon, and Washington states are going to create a West Coast coalition to protect access to abortions. I tell you what, have at it, California, Washington, and Oregon. No one's stopping you. The federal government and the Supreme Court of the United States are not saying that Oregon, Washington, or California can stop abortions. No, that they can't have they're not saying anything. They're saying, make up your own minds. Leave us out of it. Interesting stuff, folks. All right, it is now your turn. Jolene, pepper me with someone's comment. We got Latin American preparedness. And he says, we need to prepare. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense. And a plan. All right, he says, yes, shortages of diesel fuel and DEF, which is a diesel fuel additive, have been reported, right? Reports of diesel oil is beginning to be reported that may affect motor oil. What will be the effect and how to prepare? Well, shortages of diesel fuel. If you require diesel fuel for your work, whether you're a trucker or whether you're a farmer, my recommendation is get your tankage filled, right? A lot of truck farms and farms, I call them truck farms because you go there and it looks like that's what they got, rows and rows of trucks. Fill those tanks to the brim and keep them full. Tell your jobber to keep them full. Now, if you're just a regular Joe like me, and let's just say you had a F350 2000 with a 7.3 turbo diesel in it, you may want to get as much fuel as you can. Now, I've always said, don't ever let your fuel tank drop below half full. It gets to half, that means it's empty. Go fill that sucker up, whether it's gas or diesel. Always keep that sucker full, close to full. So you've got at least a couple hundred miles of runaway fuel in an emergency. Now, in this instance, maybe having some fuel cans safely stored using proper DOT, Department of Transportation approved tanks or fuel cans. Yeah, make sure, right? Make sure. Same with gasoline. Maybe you want to keep some extra gas around if you do a lot of traveling or you travel far from home and you want to make sure you can get back. Just a thought, just an idea. But there's really nothing we can do to protect ourselves long term. The solution of keeping cans around is just a short-term issue. The problem is the long-term damage done by the Biden administration and the European Union and NATO with its attack on Russia, which has caused a severe shortage globally of oil and in turn oil distillates known as diesel, gasoline, fuel oil, bunker oil, etc. Not coming to the West. Not coming to the West. Yes, as far as motor oil goes, same story. If you've got a 7.3 liter diesel that's 20 plus years old, you might want to have enough oil for your truck if it burns, drips, leaks, right? You just want to make sure you have enough oil to get through. We're going to have trouble. We could have fuel interruptions, folks, that last a day or two. Down here in the South on the Gulf Coast, I've asked around. People are like, yeah, when a hurricane comes, the fuel tanks get drained at the gas stations because people go and fill up at the last minute. So it may not be a bad idea to have a little bit extra around in case it gets, a storm comes and fuel disappears. Or we have a Biden moment. Or we have another attack on our infrastructure. The attack on our infrastructure, like, the Colonial pipeline that runs from like Texas up all the way, folks, a pipeline running all the way up to New England, supplying it with much needed fuels and fuel oil known as diesel. Long term, we're in big, big, big trouble. There's no way around it, folks. We have SHTF for FUEL for years. We're going to see prices go up and up. We're going to see security going down. Unbelievable. Okay, it is now my turn. It's now my turn to bring something up. This is a big one. This one pissed me off good. I'm like, what? The Justice Department. Folks, that would be the DOJ, the Department of Justice. The Attorney General's office releases a statement on Roe v. Wade, right? Attorney General Merrick the Donkey Dork Garland vows to, quote, use every tool to fight the states on abortion. Well, there's no more federal protection, you jackass. And yeah, jackass and donkey dork. Yeah, they fit together, right? Especially if one of them is Pete Buttigieg, right? Buttgager, right? Yeah. A donkey dork and a jackass. All right, yeah. Folks, politicians, activists, celebrities are all crying rivers of tears. Rivers of tears like this.
What a great honor to be able to introduce for the first time ever anywhere the 45th President of the United States of America.
I'm not laughing at all the young women who have made mistakes, who feel trapped and can't figure out what to do with life. There are a lot of solutions. I recommend getting the proper counseling if you're in that situation and looking at your options. The only option is not to get an abortion. There are a lot of people who would love to adopt a healthy American baby. There's a shortage of them, in fact. Okay, especially since underwear are too tight. And there's other fertility issues like Jim Jones juice related stuff. All right, so back to the Attorney General. The Department of Justice saying we're going to use every tool possible, right? He offered his resistance to the SCOTUS decision, the Supreme Court of the United States. And we all knew it was coming. So what authority does Mama interfere with the Supreme Court of the United States decision? He is a law enforcement bureaucrat. Bureaucrat, folks. No more than that. And personally, I would argue he's a lot less, right? All the attacks, folks, being allowed on the private residences and neighborhoods of Supreme Court justices undermines our trust in the federal government because one branch is being singled out by the others for political disagreements. And the Justice Department, a branch of the executive department, law enforcement, are they going to go to Justice Thomas, Justice Alito, Justice Kavanaugh, and Justice Barrett? Is he going to send federal protection in there to help get rid of protesters who are violating federal law and committing federal crimes? Yeah. If you don't remember, this is what we're told, folks. If you don't like the government, vote. And if you lose the vote, too damn bad. That's what Republicans and libertarians, freedom-minded Americans have been told since Franklin Delano Roosevelt, since Lyndon Baines Johnson in the 60s, and Obama. If you don't like it, vote. So F you to every single socialist, Democrat, everywhere. F you. And you college scum and you 20-something turds out there protesting, pretending like your whole life is now ruined, right? Try that violence that you have in your little minds. Try that with salt and see how it turns out on snowflakes. What a week. Thank you for coming to Subscribestar. I'm glad to see all of you here. I think this is our biggest turnout yet. We need, folks, we need more people on Subscribestar. We do. Because I think they're going to do everything they can to silence us. We have the Prepared Mind BC, which is our backup channel on YouTube to help people find us. But it is through Subscribestar that we're going to get the protection we need. Not from Patreon, right? All right. I just had to go after Merrick Garland. What a little turd. Have you seen that guy? He's like the nerd that everyone didn't take the time to beat up because he was such a small little turd. All right, let's get to your questions. Let's do it. Let's see what you guys have in mind. And we have Gary D. He says the feds have trampled the 10th Amendment along with other amendments over the years. If this is a states' right movement that will continue, is this a states' right movement that will continue? Well, I think it can. I think it needs to be pushed in that direction. You see, when you start talking about the 10th Amendment, you get away from the politics of the First Amendment. When you get away from the Second Amendment and over to the 10th Amendment, you stop thinking about guns and you start thinking about where the power really lies and does the federal government have the authority to do what it's doing? See, that was the brilliance of the Founding Fathers. God rest their souls and have mercy on them as we would anyone who has a good heart, regardless of the age in which they live and the color of their skin. May they be judged on the content of their character. And of course, the tribal politics of the time instead of today's stuff. Okay, I had to do that one. I just had to do that one. I think the captain's putting a little bit of spiciness in me today, if you know what I'm saying. All right, now back to the question at hand. The feds have trampled the 10th Amendment. The states' right movement will continue. Well, First Amendment, Second Amendment, those are in every state's constitutions, as well as the Fourth and the Fifth. Now, they handed out the Supreme Court decision yesterday that police and prosecutors can use testimony that you give them if you talk and they did not read you your Miranda rights. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to shut your pie hole. You have the right to STFU. And if you choose not to do that, then anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. Even if they don't Mirandize you, read you your rights, you can be held accountable for the words you speak. And yeah, whole Fifth Amendment thing, the rule against, persecuting yourself. Can you be forced? There's all kinds of questions out there, all kinds of questions. You see, the states could come back and say, we don't agree with the federal version of that. And the states can pass laws requiring Miranda rights to be read or saying, yeah, we agree with the Supreme Court. right? We don't think it's necessary, right? You should know the law. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. And you can't sue a cop for not reading your Miranda rights, yada, yada, yada. States' rights, I think it can continue. I think we should continue with pushing the states' rights issue. The federal government, your gun control laws, guess what? Sheriffs can say, not enforcing a federal rule like that. Right? States should say, you know what? Red flag laws are bad. And I know there's some southern states that have red flag laws, and I do not agree with red flag laws. There's some issues there, folks. In fact, let's just jump into that. Thank you, Gary D. Let's do states' rights. Congress has passed their gun control package, right? And Gigi Biden is going to sign it. With the exception of the red flag law bullshit, I really think it's a bunch of hoo-hoo nonsense. We're going to have more difficulty in getting a gun. Well, that's a problem, but it's not insurmountable. We're going to do this, we're going to do that. I don't agree, and I don't think any of it should be allowed, folks. Number one, shall not be infringed. It's right there in the Second Amendment. I can't see anything in the Constitution where the word abortion is even mentioned or anything related to women's special rights. Number two, Supreme Court of the United States will be asked to look at these red flag law. They'll be asked to look at that portion of the legislation and be asked to examine it. And if due process is afforded or completely avoided by it, and coupled with, if there is no crime committed, how can someone's private property be taken from them? Because someone complained? A complaint is hearsay. It's absolute hearsay. That's what a complaint is. A complaint is supposed to be followed up by, if it's a serious complaint, an investigation. The police can knock on the door, and if you don't answer, they can't kick it in. There's been no crime. If you do answer the door and the cop says, "Can we have a word with you?" You could say, "I don't have anything to say." And you can shut the door politely. You don't have to answer any questions or feel compelled to. There's no reason to Mirandize you. You're not being arrested. A red flag complaint is no more than hearsay. If I were to answer the door and they say, "John, we'd like to talk to you," and I would, I'd just say, "Thank you," and I'd close the hatch and go back down in the bunker. Right? You don't have to answer. They have no right to come in based on hearsay. This is going to be taken right up the chain instantly, folks. There's no crime. How can someone's private property be taken? Clearly in violation of our Bill of Rights constitutional protections, as well as number 3, shall not be infringed. And this is also a states' rights issue. The federal government has been instructed shall not be infringed. What part of that isn't understood? If you want to live in a mamby-pamby, snowflake, safe room having safe space where you can go hug fuzzy bunnies, go find that city, that state, and buy a house there and hide in your closet in fear. The rest of us, we like our rights. Woo! Unbelievable. Davey D says, can this ruling, meaning the Supreme Court ruling on states' rights having to deal with Roe v. Wade, can this ruling be the predecessor to the Second Amendment? The answer is yes. As just discussed, and I think that's why Jolene tossed it up on the board there. Yeah, definitely. The federal government has used its authority. It doesn't have rights. It has authority. It has overstepped its authority. And it has used what is known as the long arm statute or interstate commerce, right? The federal government is allowed to regulate interstate commerce. Now, the word regulate has been taken way out of context, and now it's used to mean the government can tell you what to do. Now, right, a well-regulated militia is a well-understood, well-practiced, well-organized militia. It doesn't say the government has a right to regulate and make you do anything. The same with this, the government can regulate interstate commerce. To regulate means to regularize, to practice the same for everybody. In other words, one state cannot tell another state, we refuse to do a business with you with no tax, but we're going to charge another state a special tax, right? So the regularizing, normalizing, even, right? Even this. But the word regulate now means the government has authority to tell you what to do in every instance because you've crossed state lines, right? That's why they go, well, guns, we can regulate guns because guns and ammunition and standard capacity 30 round dangerous magazines, they cross state lines. Well, guess what? They have overstepped their authority way, way, way too far. Now, as far as regulating or regularizing, normalizing interstate commerce, that's right. Interstate commerce should be normalized, not restricted. And just because a regularized item crosses a state line doesn't give the federal government the right to say you can or can't have it. But they think it does because of abuse. And someone, I can't remember which comment was, mentioned, yeah, we've been dealing with states' right issues for a long time. The first and the biggest, folks, was the Civil War. The rights of the state to choose to freely associate with others or to leave the Union was brought into question and settled with bullets and bombs. Sadly. Right. Sadly, thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of Americans died because of greed, business greed. It was a crying shame, folks. And so many people died because others were greedy and they wanted to steal. And then, of course, slavery became tied to the concept as well. At the end of the Civil War, the Emancipation Proclamation came out. That was indeed a bit of an afterthought. And it was a good one, right? Freeing the slaves. Of course it was. What an opportune time. Of course it was. But that's not why the war was started. All righty. Speaking of states, I think this is pretty important. Texas, the state, the Texas Republic, their Attorney General, Ken Paxton, has announced that abortions are now illegal in Texas. But wait, John, you just said the federal government only said through the Supreme Court of the United States that they're not going to tell anyone what to do. How is it all of a sudden the Attorney General in Texas can announce that abortions are illegal? Well, I guess I missed this part. Did someone discover the meaning of woman and pluralized women? Suddenly, right, the radical leftist folks, I just had to throw this in, right? They seem to know that having a vagina and the XX chromosome designation means woman. They figured it out. Maybe we should impeach the new Supreme Court justice for her gross incompetence and stupidity. Anyways, how can the Attorney General declare abortion is now illegal? Well, in Texas in 2021, they passed what is known as a trigger law. Has nothing to do with guns, but it is going to trigger a bunch of leftists. It was called the Human Life Protection Act. And basically, it would restrict abortions within 30 days of any high court, meaning the United States Supreme Court, giving states the authority to outlaw abortions, right? States' rights. So this trigger law, the Human Life Protection Act, provides that anyone who performs or helps provide an abortion could be charged with first-degree felony and a $100,000 penalty. Now, they've already passed the law saying if Roe v. Wade is thrown out, overturned, then Texas is now a no abortion state. It's a trigger law. Other states, folks, have so-called trigger laws. Tennessee is now ready to ban nearly all abortions within weeks, right? This 30-day thing. Tennessee has the trigger law. It's going to ban all abortions. Now, under that law in Tennessee, the Attorney General must notify state officials of the ruling that has triggered the ban. The ruling's come down. So my question is, how many other states have this trigger law, and how violent will the response be from the left? Are you ready for the answer? I found it. There's 26 possible trigger law states where abortion, folks, will become illegal following Roe v. Wade. They already had these laws in place, folks. 26 out of 50. A small majority, right? 52% of the United States states, just a little over half, already had rules in place to make abortion illegal. Wow. You see, it's a states' rights issue. Now, what I do like about states' rights, folks, is Washington, D.C. won't listen to me. I have a better chance of being heard at the state level because it's easier for me to drive to the state capitol. It's easier for me to find the congressman's office and his local office. It's easier for me to get a hold of him. I have more access to him. My voice counts. I can get active in my community and really make life hard for my representative at the state level. Same with the senators at the state level. You know, and then more so at the city or county level. I can go in and directly address them in, when they want to have public comment. I love public comment. They're like, you don't really have any weight here. You know that, John. We have to have openness to public comment. And I'm like, well, really? And I've done public comment before in local politics. And I said, you're not really going to listen. You're not going to change your mind. So this public comment thing is just a chance for you to what? Take a breather, have a drink of water. You know, you want to be a smart ass. You want to talk to the people like that you don't really have to listen to us, that you're not bound to listen to us, right? How about the next election, jackass? Anyways, yeah, talking to politicians in a very direct and in-person effect, it's pretty powerful. The odds of me addressing Congress, the United States Congress in DC, right? But at the state level and local, I like local control, folks. I like the fact that states have rights and that the federal government should leave them the hell alone. All righty then. I'm scanning the news just in case something big happens. Nothing big at the moment. Let's do this. Let's take a look at your comment. And we've got, ooh, man. See, I knew Mr. Ooh, man. He's got like this secret little file he keeps onto the side, and he like breaks it out. And he goes, bam! Listen to this. The ruling, the Roe v. Wade ruling, can be used by the Democrats to pack the court. Oh my gosh, we can't have this decision. It's so bad. I love how this is what they're saying. People are going to die. People are going to die because of this Roe v. Wade decision. People die because of the Jim Jones juice decision. People died because they decided to lock us down and close hospitals so we couldn't get cancer treatment, pancreatic treatment, kidney dialysis. People died because they couldn't get diagnosed with whatever illness they had, and it got so bad that after 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year and 3 months, a year and a half, 2 years, people couldn't get regular preventive care, maintenance, and medical attention, and they died. Did you see any alligator tears coming out of Congress, Democrats, lobbyists, scumbag lawyers, and others? No. There's a lot of good lawyers out there, folks. There's a lot of good lawyers fighting for our rights. And there's a lot of scumbags, too. And all they want to do is get paid. They don't have a moral ground they stand on. I have talked to many attorneys, one very recently that was very moral and very, shall we say, full of convictions, strong convictions, moral convictions, decent goodness. But for the most part, they're all scum. They want to pack the court and say, yeah, we have to fix this because lives are at risk. Everything is about save the children until it's time to kill the children. It's about the military is bad until we need it to go to war in Ukraine. And then they want to, well, why can't we just use the U.S. military? Because it's really not a legal military action. You have to declare war to go fight Russia. Russia has nuclear weapons. You think that's a good idea? Why are we really going to war? Right? They don't have a good answer. But pack the court. I see your point, man, and it is brilliant. They could say, we got to pack the court. We got to overturn this. We got to make federal power supreme. And that's what I'm afraid of mostly, is the government thinking it's supreme. It's sovereign. No, states' rights and me and you, the people's rights, I think are far, far more important. We're at the 46-minute mark, and I don't want to let what is going on around there. I think that this Roe v. Wade, we knew it was coming, and so today is a distraction. I mean, it's news, it's relevant. Here comes the chaos. Here comes the violence. How many buildings are going to be burned? How many cops are going to be assaulted? How many people will be trampled and killed? Will Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, send his Royal Canadian Mounted Police, the RCMP, bring their horses down here and start trampling people? Well, war in Russia, folks. It appears that the European Union and NATO are forming a bloc. And yeah, it's obvious. It's right out there, right? But, you know, as important as Roe v. Wade is today, World War III is far, far more important. Now, this fella named Richard Hanania, he summed it up in a tweet that I thought was important. Lithuania, folks, the little nation of Lithuania has to choose. And so does each nation about whether to start conflict and fight Russia or realize that the United States District of Columbia government and the European Union bureaucrats and Downing Street, London, United Kingdom, they're going to have to realize that they don't really give a crap about the damage that further conflict with Russia will do, especially to tiny nations, but indeed to all people in Europe. So the Lithuanian president, this is what Richard Hanania tweeted. Lithuanian president, quote, Russia cannot be stopped by persuasion, cooperation, appeasement, or concessions, end quote. So Richard goes on to tweet, these small European countries fail to realize the world doesn't revolve around them. If the plan is unlimited American commitment, they are in trouble. Basically saying, you want to start some shit, Lithuania? America will not back you up. Ukraine was told, we got your back. And then they started a bunch of shit and threatened Russia, turned the Azov battalion, the Ukraine military loose inside the eastern Ukraine, the Donbass area, right? And they committed atrocities against ethnic Russians. They threatened that they were going to bring in NATO bases and military weapons right on Russia's doorstep. And finally, they antagonized Russia enough that they said, no more. We're going to free eastern Ukraine that is now separatist, right? We're tired of Zelensky's dictatorial power. That's right, I had to say it. Now, Lithuania is trying to cut off a portion of Russia, right? Kaliningrad. He's trying to shut it off, the supply corridor, and it's prompting a more serious Russian response. So Sergei Lavrov, foreign minister for Russia, he used the opportunity to accuse the European Union and NATO, which is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, accused them of forming a bloc in preparation to wage war against Russia. And this is his quote. Hitler, under his banner, had brought together a large part of European countries to wage war against the Soviet Union. And he was traveling to Azerbaijan, and he decided to bring this up. And he says, quote, today, the European Union and NATO are bringing together such a contemporary coalition to fight and to a large extent, wage war against Russia. So I asked the question, what kind of war is this going to be? An economic war, an energy war, or bullets and bombs? Wars start with words. They have sanctions. That's a paper war. They have energy. That's cutting off supplies. And then you have bombs and bullets. All wars start with words, talking shit. And these little EU nations, folks, these little European Union nations like Lithuania, right? Not a smart move, right? Every little nation between Russia and London will suffer harshly. The people will, folks. And so will we in the United States of America, since Russia is the world's largest exporter of oil. Oh, yeah. Biden shut down pipelines and canceled drilling permits and exploration and development of well fields and oil fields. Biden did this, folks. The U.S. is a very big part of what happened in Ukraine, and we're all paying for it. So let's go, Brandon. I didn't want that to go away. I did not want to get to the weekend without touching on this. And folks, we'll be back for Sunday Night Live. You bet your ass we will. What is it? 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Pacific Time. I forgot what time zone I was in there for a minute. We'll be back Sunday Night Live. We're going to talk about anything that happens in Ukraine, and we'll be talking about anything and everything that happens between now and then. Now, who else has a comment, a question, etc.? I've got tons of stuff to talk about. But what the hey, right? What the hey? What the hey? Okay. Eli in the Wolverine State says, do you think drunken Paul Pelosi will do jail time? It came out in the news today. Paul Pelosi, someone else, may have been in the vehicle when it crashed. I don't think he's going to do jail time. I'll answer your question straight out. Because he's been charged with misdemeanor drunk driving causing an accident. I was pretty sure that's a felony. Pretty sure. Especially if you leave the scene of an accident. Anyways, with someone else in the car. I don't encourage speculation, folks. No. But we are very cynical. Was it a Trans Am car? Needing a ride home? An activist there? Was it maybe a sex worker, single mom who likes to dance on poles? And her car was in the shop, so Paul was just helping her out. Was it his niece again? That's right. While Nancy eyebrows are always up on the top of her forehead, like her plastic surgeon just took her head and pulled it way back and bam, 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 stapled it in place. Right? It's widely speculated that Paul Pelosi gives his niece a ride all over the place because Nancy's all the way over in Washington. And maybe that's why she continuously runs for office for decade after decade after decade, because Paul's like, I need a break. Get this woman out of here 6 months out of the year. Anyways, I don't know who is in the car. We may never know. And I certainly doubt Paul is going to see another moment in jail. He may not even have to show up at court. They may just plead this thing away. Oh, by the way, Rick O'Connell, he says, Alexandria, this is a hot one. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez just told people to take to the streets and called the court's decision illegitimate. Really? Isn't that calling for an insurrection? Okay. AOC? Oh, yeah. There's more than AOC. Mad Maxine Waters. She has an insurrectionist sounding quote. Pelosi. She's all grouchified over it. Chuck Chuckles Schumer threw a fit and said the unelected justices on the extremist MAGA court are bad. The unelected justices. No, of course they're not elected, you dickhead. Schumer has been what? Justices have never been elected. Maybe that's what they ought to do. Pack the court with a judge election because, yeah, we'll really get to the truth on that one. New York's Attorney General, Letitia James, right? It's one of the darkest moments in our nation's history. Every scumbag, including AOC, is running to a camera and a microphone to say how they disagree with what's going on. Unbelievable. Jon Stewart said, and I actually appreciated his joke, perhaps Roe can be salvaged if women reclassify their vaginas as holsters. Well, what if men reclassified themselves as women? And just what? Oh, I love it. Illegitimate. AOC. And then Obama. Michelle Obama. He, she, they decided to come out and very angry. You know, she always looks like just a really angry. I don't know what the hell she looks like, but she looks angry when she's angry. But Barack also came out. He says, we've known this day was coming, but that doesn't make it any less devastating. Okay, go smoke a pull. Unbelievable, folks. What's going on here? Woo! Yeah, the politicians, there'll be no shortage of them, and celebrities. Here's Senator Jeff Jackson. This election, 2022, this election is now about who will defend the freedom of women to make their own choices over their own bodies. Taking this freedom away is wrong. Freedom. I thought it was about rights. Yeah, I know. I don't have any choice over my body. I want to put lots of alcohol and cocaine in it, and I want to drive around in my car and speed. And no, I actually don't want to do those things, and I don't recommend anyone do those things. But this whole idea of it's a woman's right and it's a woman's freedoms to do what she wants with her body. But what about prostitution? That's a vagina too. Takes a vagina, doesn't it? Unless you're a male prostitute. Yeah. Unbelievable, folks. Yeah, you can tell us that you're going to jail. John, if you were to go out and get a prostitute and try and have sex with her by giving her some money, you would go to jail. But if you go to a bar and pick up a hoe, you don't go to jail. Your intent is the same in both cases. In case number one, you want to have sex. In case number two, you want to have sex. In case number one, you're offering to pay money. In case number two, you're buying drinks all night and using your charm. Which one is worse? Well, they're both pretty freaking disgusting, but yeah, one's illegal. But I can't do what I want with my penis. But oh my gosh. Now, George Takei, George, Lieutenant Sulu from Star Trek, the original, way back in the 60s. That guy, he's still alive. He says, Roe isn't the end, folks. Just the tip of the iceberg. When George Takei makes jokes about just the tip, you got to pay attention to that guy. He's got a keen sense of humor, and he is light in the loafers. Got to love George Takei. It's just the tip of the iceberg. I don't know if anyone else caught the little tip joke, but I sure did. There's no limit to the amount of virtue signaling and whining and crying and sniveling. And folks, the way I see this, it's about personal responsibility. And only you can be held responsible for your decisions, not anyone else. If someone wants to get an abortion, that's their business. How they go about doing it, tricky stuff, right? If you want to own a weapon, that's your business. I can't stop you. It's your business. You're responsible. You're accountable for your actions. What rights do the state have to tell us what our business is? Well, you're not allowed to kill other people with a gun or with an abortion. Many states are going to say that. I recommend people be very responsible, women and men. Don't get pregnant unless you know and are willing to raise a baby. It is trouble, folks. It's trouble. And today, unlike back when Roe v. Wade came out, there is the ability today to get paternity tests right away. Who's responsible for this? Right? There's all kinds of things are different today. So much better, especially, and I hate to be on this hobby horse, but, birth control, methods for birth control. It's never been easier, never been cheaper, never been more accessible, never been more effective, and we're still having this discussion. Wow. Any more questions? Any more comments? If not, and I don't see them, I will be back Sunday Night Live this weekend, folks. Get some popcorn. Get yourself a 6-pack of non-Coca-Cola. Get yourself some beer. Get yourself some Captain, whatever. But I got Heidi checked in. Here's what Heidi had to say. I was listening to Rumble, which is another platform, folks, social media platform. And a female was on there saying that there should be some kind of law making men half responsible if she gets pregnant. She didn't think she should be responsible. Now, I get it. Men should be responsible as well. I'm totally for that. They got paternity tests. Now, if I'm just walking down the street and some lady looks at me and goes, I'm pregnant now, and I think that John guy, what right does the government have to accuse me of copulating with that woman and then extract from me blood and test it? Yeah, there's some problems with that. But paternity tests, right? If you can establish, I guess, in court and say, I've got witnesses that John went home with that girl and slept with her. Yeah, I guess that would be due process. Unlike a red flag law, which is, I don't like that person, go take their guns. Yeah, that won't stand up. Civilization is never easy. Responsibility is never accepted by everyone. I think men should be held accountable. I think women should as well. I think murder is murder and it's wrong. I think our rights are inalienable. And I think the Constitution is the law of the land and it should be respected that way. And the Declaration of Independence is universal, timeless, and a legal, social, moral, and even spiritual document that should be regarded and held high by all peoples for all eternity. I think that a copy of the Declaration of Independence should be included in every Bible. I do. I'm not just being funny. I'm not just being a satirist. But it is, folks. One heck of a week. It has hit the fan. Go to thepreparedmind.club. That's our website. That's your store for getting prepared. Food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, and a plan. And don't worry, folks. Remember that leftists, like the wenches on The View, think that intimidation's a good thing. Yeah, we should all be scared of them. Remember Kyle Rittenhouse. F around, find out. Godspeed to you. God bless America. Semper Fi.